What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Town Biz. All right, you guys. So Dimitri Bivol defeats Arthur Beterbiev, hands him his first official loss. As far as the overall fight go, great overall fight, great display of boxing and ring IQ. Back and forth fight. It looked at some parts of the fight. It looked like Dimitri Bivol was going to possibly run away with this. Then it looked like Arthur Beterbiev was going to do what he does best, which is knock dudes out. But the story of this fight, this time Dimitri Bivol, for the most part, except for the 12th round, he closed strong, and I think that's what gave him the fight. He just this time he picked his spots, but this time he was willing to sell out a little bit more than he did in the first fight, and that's what got him the fight. Um, Nothing bad to say about Arthur Beterbiev. He's had a great run. He made history. He was an undisputed champion. I wouldn't mind seeing a third fight, and they should put it in the States. But now it looked like we're going to get a showdown between David Benavidez and Dimitri Bivol if they decide not to fight a third time. I wouldn't mind seeing a third fight, to be honest with you. I would be up for a third fight, you know. But it looked like you're going to see Dimitri Bivol and David Benavidez later down the line. Hopefully we can get it sooner than later. It's February. So with that being said, we could possibly get that like in June. You know what? I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Depending on, I would put that fight on the same night as Canelo, because Canelo is fighting William Skull, and I would be more interested in Undisputed than watching Canelo fight somebody that we know he's gonna beat and get back his belt, and then we just wait till September. But Dimitri Bivol and David Benavidez is probably going to happen. Probably going to happen between May and June, maybe even the summertime. But sign me up for that fight. That's going to be a hell of a fight. That's going to be a very hard fight to like break down, because Dimitri Bivol did show his boxing skills, but you still saw some vulnerabilities in Dimitri Bivol, and you saw some vulnerabilities in David Benavidez, because it looked as in the fight that Dimitri Bivol was starting to break down, and it looked like he was starting to possibly gas out, and you started to see the steam go out of his punches. But then he knew what was on the line, and that's what I like about Dimitri Bivol in this fight. He knew the assignment, and it was like he woke up and he was like, I gotta wake up. If I don't snap out of this, I'm either gonna get knocked out or I'm gonna lose again. And this is what I was telling you. Let me explain something to you. And to you Canelo fans out there, Canelo can't beat Dimitri Bivol. If Canelo goes back up to light heavyweight to fight Dimitri Bivol, which I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo tries that. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo tries that and says, oh, I'll go back up to light heavyweight and I'll fight Dimitri Bivol. Let me explain something to you. Dimitri Bivol stops Canelo in a rematch. I know you Canelo fans are going to say, no, that can't happen. Now Canelo got a legitimate reason to go back up to 175. I mean, he's going to get his ass beat again. This time he's going to get stopped. Canelo can't beat Dimitri Bivol on his best day. He can't beat Dimitri Bivol. On his best day, he can't do nothing. Canelo can't do nothing with Bivol on his best day. If they fight again, Canelo gonna get stopped. Like I said before, Canelo fans got upset like somebody gives a fuck what they think, and said, oh, Canelo ain't never been stopped. Well, he would have got, look, had Dimitri Bivol wouldn't have shown Canelo so much respect in the first fight, if he had really put his foot to the metal, he would have got the stoppage. I'm telling you now, Dimitri Bivol ain't gonna show Canelo no respect in a rematch. I'm telling you now, he gonna go for the gusto, and he gonna beat the hell out of Canelo, and he gonna get the stoppage. And yeah, Arthur Beterbiev, that's my guy, man. That's my guy. But at the end of the day, he let the fight slip away from him. You know, He had a good 12th round. At best, at best, at best, you would have had to have it a draw. But Dimitri Bivol, he did enough to me to get the fight. To me, the right guy won tonight. No controversy. But if it would have been a draw, I would have understood why it would have been a draw, because Better Beeb had a good 12th round. And the fight, for the most part, it was up and down to the latter part of the fight, in which Dimitri Bivol poured it on. And Dimitri Bivol is a hell of a boxer. It's a hell of a boxer. When I was first watching Dimitri Bivol, when he was fighting on HBO, I didn't think much of him. I don't know. It might have been the guys he was fighting, but then when I seen him fight the Joe Smiths and see him fight Ramirez and see how he was just outboxing those dudes, I started to like reevaluate him, and I was like, well, Dimitri Bivol may be better than we think he is. And then when he fought Canelo, I was convinced. And then I went back and looked at footage of Dimitri Bivol. And I was like, Dimitri Bivol got a terrible style for Canelo. And if this fight is on the up and up, he probably could, and will, or should, and will beat Canelo. And that's what he did. Now, the scorecards was atrocious, where they gave, I think, 2 of the 3 judges gave Canelo like the first 4 rounds versus Dimitri Bivol. And this is what people was talking about. When you fight Canelo, you are automatically down 4 rounds. And Dimitri Bivol basically had to play catch up, but Dimitri Bivol was so dominant in the fight, the judges had no choice but to give the fight to Dimitri Bivol. And if you really watch that fight, at best, you could say Canelo, like I say, you would be generous to say Canelo won 4 rounds in that fight. Most people had it. Most people with common sense who watched the fight had it 9-3 in favor of Bivol. It wasn't. Canelo didn't remotely win 7 rounds in that fight. I mean, excuse me, Canelo didn't remotely win 5 rounds in that fight. Not even close. But it was a good fight. Hell of a fight. Hell of a fight. When I first saw Bivol, when I was seeing him, I just wasn't impressed. And I think I just wasn't that impressed. I just, watching versus Barrera, and then just looking at it, I just didn't think, I didn't think he was that impressive. But then as I started seeing him more, I started to say, well, damn, this dude is better than I thought he was. And I was like, this dude is a better boxer than I thought he was. And then, like I said, going into the Canelo fight, I went back and watched film and watched fights of him. And I was thinking to myself, well, damn, he should be able to beat Canelo. And that's what he did. And that's what he did. The David Benavidez fight is going to be very interesting. That could be that probably could be another controversial fight. I could see that being a controversial fight. I could see a fight with David Benavidez being controversial going in either direction. I think David Benavidez beats Bivol with just clear point, just activity. Because the fight is not going to be a cakewalk for either fighter. I think Bivol was going to surprise David Benavidez with his boxing skills, his combination punching. But then I think David Benavidez could possibly overwhelm Bivol at times with his combination punching and his lightning quick speed. So that's why I think it's going to be a good fight. I don't think Bivol is going to I don't think Bivol has enough power to knock David Benavidez out, but he got what you call, he can keep you honest. He can keep you honest. He could possibly overwhelm you. See, Canelo was getting overwhelmed, and Canelo looked so confused versus Bivol, to where at times he looked like he wanted to check out, but Canelo can't check out. And besides, Canelo isn't a natural, he isn't a light heavyweight anyway. As far as boxing go, he walks around possibly at 200 pounds, but as far as fighting goes, he's not a light heavyweight. But hell yeah, sign me up. Sign me up for that fight. That fight is going to be bananas. It's going to be outrageous. And hopefully Turkey Al-Sheikh makes this fight in the States. Bivol versus David Benavidez should be in the States. That's a Las Vegas fight. That could even be a Madison Square Garden fight. That could be in Los Angeles. But that fight should take place in the States. And I'm interested to see what David Benavidez has to say about this. David Benavidez is thinking he's probably thinking to himself, he's like, okay, well, I know Bivol ain't no big puncher. So I can trade blow for blow with him. I'm bigger than him. I'm taller than him. So I probably could just outwork him. So this is why I think this fight is going to be, it is going to be a good fight. It's going to be a fight for the ages. It's going to be an exciting fight. Dimitri Bivol is not a boring fighter. Now, of course, later on, I'm going to talk about the situation with Shakur Stevenson. The Tank fans are at it again with the nut hugging. So my thing is, I'm going to say this again to all you Tank fans. Okay, well, if Shakur Stevenson went 8 or 9 rounds or whatever the case with a electrician, okay, cool. Well, then there's no reason why Tank should make the fight. I don't want, if Tank doesn't fight Shakur Stevenson next, because everybody think that Tank is going to go in there and just throw a punch and the fight going to be over with. This is the same Tank that was struggling versus Mario Barrios. He was struggling versus Leo Santa Cruz. He was struggling versus Frank Martin. His power is the difference maker. But what happens if you can't land a big punch? And obviously, Shakur Stevenson got some kind of power if he dropped the dude with a body shot 3 times to where his corner threw in the time. This is why I know people don't really understand boxing. They just fun boys. What I don't understand was Shakur Stevenson was walking forward, and then I heard somebody say that, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to repeat what this dude said. He made one of the most dumbest assessments that I ever seen in my life. I'm going to just say this much. Had that been Floyd Schofield would have got the hell beat out of him. Why did Floyd Schofield punk out of the fight? If it was going to be such an easy fight for people that think that, man, it's just difficult to try to talk boxing with people that don't understand how boxing works. Styles make fights. A lot of people thought that Marcos Maidana was going to knock out Devin Alexander, and Devin Alexander easily outpointed him to a victory. So styles make fights. A lot of people thought the way that Arthur Better Be demolished Joe Smith Jr. in 2 rounds, thought that Bivol was going to be a cakewalk. And look what happened. They had 2 competitive fights. So boxing doesn't work like that. But these are people that are fanboys. They don't understand how boxing works, and that's just real talk. People will sit up there and say, oh, well, if that was Tank would have knocked that dude out in 2 rounds. Well, first of all, you had to change your training regimen. First of all, you trained for Floyd Schofield. Once again, you trained for fighting styles. So for Shakur Stevenson basically to wing it, he winged it against that dude. Well, it's just difficult when you try to talk boxing with people and basically you are a little bit, as far as knowledge go, you more superior than a person that don't watch boxing. Everybody knows I'm a credentialed media member for the most part, everybody knows I'm a credential media member. I go to the gyms, I go to the fights, I go to the weigh-ins, I spend time with these boxers talking to them. So I understand the ins and out. And I'm learning the business thanks to my homeboy, Justin McRae. So he's teaching me about the business perspective of boxing. And we don't always see eye to eye on certain things, but at the end of the day, my thing is with the Tank nut huggers. Okay, well then you demand a fight. I don't want to hear this stuff about Shakur Stevenson doesn't deserve a fight. You sound dumb. You sound dumb. You sound remedial. How doesn't a pound for pound fighter doesn't deserve a fight with Tank? And Tank on most people's and Tank even isn't even on most people's pound for pound list. He's not a Tank is just a dude that sells a lot of tickets. Well, until this fight. So, bro. Well, let's see. Damian. Everybody calls Shakur Stevenson Shakur Twitterson. Well, let's see what Tank X has to say. Because we know Tank is famous for getting on Twitter or should I say X, and then writing something and then deleting it. Oh, yeah, he's a Muslim now. Ain't his name Abdul Rahad? So let's see if Tank X say, oh, I'm fighting Shakur Stevenson next. He loved to talk about people's ticket sales. He loved to talk about this. He loved to talk about what he'll do to somebody, but yet Tank doesn't sign any contracts. He doesn't send anybody any contracts. So let's see. I don't want to hear nothing about, imagine what I'll do to this dude. Okay, cool. So once again, I know that fight ain't selling, Damian. That's why they beg those influencers to come there and cover the fight, cover the open workout. Now, probably what's gonna happen? Somebody gonna buy all the tickets. The PBC gonna buy all the tickets. They gonna give them away, and then they're gonna say it's a sellout. And then they gonna leak to the press, or they gonna have somebody say, oh, this is one of the biggest gates ever. Technically, at the end of the day, we don't know how much a fight really makes. We basically report what they tell us. Unless we see the actual books, we don't know. We just report what they tell us. So I already know the Roach fight isn't selling very well. Everybody knows that. But leave it to the Tank fans. They're going to tell you that, listen, the fight is next Saturday. This fight should already be sold out. And then not to mention that you selling tickets for atrocious prices. You selling nosebleed tickets for $192. And depending the state where you buy the tickets from, if you plan on going to see the fight in person, they charge you depending on that state tax where you buy the tickets from, you're going to end up paying, you could be paying anywhere from an extra $40 to $50 for service fees and all that stuff. Service fees is nothing but basically you getting charged for making a phone call. So, that's basically what the ticket brokers, that's how they make their money. But yeah, that fight isn't selling at all. But once again, it was a great fight, and shout out to Dimitri Bivol. I look forward to a fight with him and David Benavidez. Hopefully I get to be there. Yeah, well, what they could do, Damian, they'll buy up the tickets and they'll comp a lot of people. They'll comp celebrities. They'll say, and then they'll write the tickets off. They'll give them away. They'll write them off, and then they'll say that the fight is a sellout. But they can write it off, because a lot of times that's what NFL teams used to do. The 49ers was known for doing that. They say the Denver Broncos would do that. Like, basically, even though they got rid of the blackout rule, what they would do is, back in the day, if the fight didn't sell out, if the football game didn't sell out, then locally people couldn't see it, which I think was stupid. So a lot of times what they would do is the owners would just buy the tickets. They would just buy out the remaining tickets. And you get a tax write-off if you buy the remaining tickets. So you'd get a tax write-off, or depending on how your tax works in your prospective state, it could count as the loss, or once again, you just write it off. So you would see that a lot in football. A lot, man. I would watch certain games, still say this game is a sellout, and you'd be like, man, there's hella empty seats. So, and I used to go to 49er games every once in a while, even though I was a Raider fan when they was at Candlestick. Those games wouldn't be like filled to capacity. They would say it was sold out. They also would use this trick. They would consider it a sellout based off the fact that the same amount of season ticket holders would buy their amount of tickets for the season. So that's another way how they was getting away with saying the game is sold out. So I'm giving y'all a little bit of knowledge. But yeah, nevertheless, you heard Blue Blood report on it. You heard a few other people report on it that the tank fight isn't selling very well. Listen, when they resort to basically, oh, and by the way, those influencers that showed up to Tank's open workout, they paid for them to come there. They paid for them to come there. They paid them to come there. So there you have it. Anyway, this your boy Town. I'm out.